Hello folks, game 2, Ret and Huk. Evil Genius and Team Liquid. The battle continues. Last game we saw Ret, who is usually known for amazingly huge macroing up, decided to go and put on a bit of a roach bust on 3 bases. Worked out really well, did a lot of damage. Came back home, defended. But then we saw him get stuck on a Roach Hydra composition against Immortal Archon Storm, and kinda got destroyed. It took a little bit longer because Huk obviously had to come back from all that damage he had taken. But it just looked like Huk had the right composition for what was going on. I'm generally a big fan of Roach Hydra, but with Storms or with any type of Colossus there, they'll still get cut through so fast. You do need to think about your late game tech choices. That's generally where I suffer as well. For the Protoss player, late game tech choices usually mean like this big switch into mass air. You got all of your upgrades everywhere, so you got Blink Stalkers running around doing stuff. Last game we saw Huk really focused on super upgraded charge lots that worked super well against all of the Roaches and Hydras. Just closed down the distance and got right on top of them, dealing a lot of damage. So it's really about melting armies. The Zerg player, as the game goes on, and he's actually going to be going for a hatch first. A little bit dangerous, but that should be just fine for him. There's no forge down on the other side. No cheese in the intention here from our Protoss player. Does get both of his gases pretty fast. Might be a little bit more of a one base play as opposed to the Nexus first we got out of him last time. Pool is down now. And when it gets to the late game, I was just thinking about how I play against Protoss in the super late game. Because obviously my games can compare so much to these professionals. But when you get out those mass Broodlord numbers, Storms, they don't do a lot of damage to Broodlords. And you always have that opportunity to, transfuse them. You really force the Protoss player to go into some sort of mass air or mass stalker. There's just things you can do a little bit better. Even I think last game, if he had swarm hosts out, that might have been alright. But we saw something I haven't seen in a long time, which is Ret not focusing on creep spread. And swarm hosts obviously can't retreat well if they don't got creep. Made a pot of tea and cooled it down in the fridge overnight, so I got some really nice cold tea. Looks like Huk had an issue, maybe Ret did for a second there. I don't think he's going to be able to get that Overlord. He's going to get a lot of damage in on it though. He's going to try to do a little bit of juking and jiving. I don't know if there's an actual sweet spot back here. Okay, this is the most entertaining part of the game so far. Who's guessing right? Come on, Huk, juke. Being bad at juking. Did he find the sweet spot? He might have. Anyways, back home, we've got a third base started up pretty quick. The mothership core is crossing the map. That might actually be able to get a lot of damage in on... Oh, we do have a Stargate play as well. Get a lot of damage in on a hatch. Queens take a long time to get over there. And even though this only does like 5 damage a shot, I think it's 5 damage a shot. Oh, it does 8. Ranger 5. That and the Stalker might actually be able to get a little bit of damage in. We have a few Lings coming out, Roach Warren and Speed. But it might be able to actually get a lot of damage in or cancel this in time. Looks as though Huk didn't know there was a third base and doesn't really feel inclined to go and put the pressure on there. Couple of gateways, forge going up at the front. It's kind of your options, going for a stalker first to be able to defend. Oh, here comes that cheeky little bugger back again. Yeah, that turned out alright. These Lings might be able to come back and grab this stalker though. Oh. Unless he takes the sneaky way home. He did not take the sneaky way home, and in fact will die. Mothership Core, super fun unit. I enjoy playing around with this quite a bit now as I'm doodling around with my Protoss play. There's actually a fair bit of lings out on the map here. I'm sure that's just so that way Ret doesn't get caught off guard and lose his third base needlessly. Queen is waddling its way down there. We once again don't have any creep out of our Zerg player, who is now moving into the rest of his gas. Pile of Zerglings out. Would be able to scout the front and see if anything else is happening. Back into Phoenix play. Interestingly enough, I actually play a fair bit of time on ladder against Protoss, but in the platinum leagues that I'm playing in, really don't see a lot of Phoenix play. I do enjoy the Phoenix play in general. That's great positioning here on the Zealots. She managed to kill quite a few of them down there. That's strange. You would think to check your third base just instinctively as a Protoss player where there's a Zerg hovering around on the map. That should be starting to poop some creep here anytime soon. Spore crawlers are of course in position right now. Huk might be able to pick off a few random workers that are sitting in the gas, something like that. That's always a fun thing to do. Looks like he does manage to get one more overlord. He's only got 2 in each of these gas. I wonder if that's a plan here. He's got 3 in these ones. Maybe he's got a timing setup that I'm not as aware of. Pretty good micro from Huk there. Just picking off what he can, making his Phoenixes as cost effective as possible. Still do have this Overlord pooping up top. Hydra's on the way right now. We're just getting a pretty good little gateway army, very high sentry count. Bunch more gateways, so it looks like it's going to be more of a 2-base play. Robo might be pushing for a third. He's got enough of an army now. Yeah, there you go. He's got enough of an army to be able to protect himself. Phoenix is still alive, still just the same handful that he had from before. Well, one Zergling does make it through to scout, but it's wasn't really that big a deal. Could always have run an Overlord through there anyways. Lost quite a few lings on doing that. Supply-wise, small lead for the Zerg player. He's obviously got the roaches and the hydra starting to build up, going for a very similar composition. A faster infestation pit this time. So let's see if that's going to help him out with some fungals. Though we see a much higher stalker count this time as opposed to zealots. Going for blink as opposed to charge, +2 attack about to finish up, whereas +1 attack isn't even done yet for our Zerg player. The beauty of having the chrono boost. Could be starting this base anytime he wants now. He might just be going for an attack, actually, putting down that base as his army's across the map. He can always recall home, got full energy there to be able to do so. Phoenixes have given a lot of map vision, so if we look at what our Zerg player can see, super limited right now, whereas our Protoss player, having those Phoenixes hovering around with his army across the map, is obviously going to make things a little bit easier for him. Looks as though he wants to push through this narrow point, which is a little surprising to me. Might want to force field off an army though. Phoenixes are getting a little thrown away here. Ret might have been able to focus down a sentry or two before doing that. Pretty good time warps going down. Mothership core is going to get sniped really fast. +2 stalkers are doing pretty decent. With all these overlords in here though, they're taking a little bit of the damage away. Ret still has a supply lead. 10 more roaches on the way. He does have his blink, but I think this attack's going to get thwarted here. A few more units coming in, but I really don't think it's going to be enough. That keeps his observer alive. That's nice. He's going to have to fall back. Unfortunately for him, he didn't expand during that, so he's not really in that great of a spot. This roach hydra composition, much better at dealing with the stalkers we see this game. A little bit of damage here and there. Stalker is obviously a very fast unit and some very simple blink micro. Working out pretty good for him. See if he manages to catch these zerglings. It's most of them. He's going to just warp in one zealot at home to deal with that. We do have the infestors on the way. I think Ret was expecting to have a very similar playstyle out of Huk as just as the first game. This very heavy zealot mixture, which the fungals would obviously do very good against. Right now we have finally some more robo units coming out for a Protoss player. Should be able to cut through those roach numbers a little bit better. And just still being a bit of a jerk with the stalkers at the front. Third base about to finish up. There's the zealots. Did he get charge yet for these bad boys? He has not, and he has not begun it either. He will be transferring workers and immediately starting his 5th and 6th gas. I do like seeing this no Colossus based play. It makes me think that there's a little more room in the type of Protoss play than what I generally see, which is get all the Colossus you can and stalkers and just walk over things. Pretty good army here. Huk's keeping pretty close in the army supply, continuing to chrono boost out a little bit more workers here. If we look at the actual economy, what's going on for these two players. Yeah, the Zerg player is ahead, but not as much as I would have thought. Would have expected to see a little bit more. We have a near max out here for our Zerg player. Protoss is ready for this. Lots of sentries with full energy. So it depends on how he wants to take this attack. And he's maxed out, so he wants to put on some sort of pressure. Otherwise his army really isn't paying for itself. Split up here a little bit. Not the best force fields right there. Doesn't really block off that one angle at all. Does really need to get charged for these zealots though. They're getting pretty beat up going through this supply block right now for Huk. He's carving a lot of damage through this Zerg player. A lot of his units are stuck here in the back attacking buildings as opposed to killing the army. Another big warp in of zealots. Blink Stalkers are going to be able to chase down a lot of this army. And though Ret did trade, didn't really trade that well. If you see, the supplies are fairly even with 18 more roaches in production. Army's going two different ways here. Let's just see if we can get enough of a rally from our Zerg player to be able to hold this off. Pretty good control here from Ret. He's doing a pretty good job picking up these smaller groups of Protoss units. Obviously having all the immortals in here is kicking a lot of ass. Just trying to focus them down, but it's not going to be enough. Man, I'm a little surprised Ret just stuck to the same strategy. Didn't have that major economy, no creep spread. Still roach hydra. Did he even at least have some upgrades at all for any of these units? Do we have anything that's popped out? +1 attack. I don't think he's got any armor on there either. So very low upgrades as opposed to the +3 attack for our Protoss player. So, good game and series by Huk. That makes him a little bit more successful at Dreamhack Valencia. And we'll see you guys later.